With summer just around the corner, I thought this would be the perfect time to give you some summer transfer test revision tips for your child. If your child is in primary 6 and going into primary 7 in September, unfortunately that means they are going to have to do a little bit of revision this summer to prepare for the transfer test. But don't worry, you don't have to sit them at that kitchen table from 9 AM to 3 PM. Just a few little bits of revision every day is perfect to keep their brains ticking over during July and August. So why is it important to keep revising over the summer if your child is sitting the transfer test? Well, whenever they go back to school in September, they are going to hit the ground running. That means straight back into homework, straight back into practice papers, spelling, times tables, Friday tests. They don't get to ease back into school gently. It's busy from the get-go. At the minute, your child is used to having a lot of homework, sitting practice papers in school and maybe one at home as well, maybe having sessions with their tutor. So their brains are in transfer test mode, in test mode. So it's important to keep that up over the summer. By doing bits of revision over the summer, your child won't have a complete shock to their system when they go back to school in September because they're used to doing a bit of work here and there over summer break. Primary 6 was a big year for learning. And I'm sure your child learned lots of different topics and concepts, so it is important to keep these in their minds over summer. This doesn't mean that they can't have fun during summer, but primary 6 was a big year for learning and there was a lot of topics that your child probably went through, so it's important to keep them fresh in their mind. Tip number 1 is to check out that school report. Do you remember those days of bringing your school report home? You were either trying to hide it in your school bag because you knew there was something bad on it, or you couldn't wait to go through the door to give it to your mom and dad because it was just going to be glowing. Among all those comments, whether it's your child talks too much, they're a great classroom helper, or maybe they're just a wee bit of a messer, there are some golden nuggets in there that can help you with your child's transfer test summer revision. This is a great place to start when looking for things that your child needs to revise over. Summer is a really great time to focus on those topics that your child maybe just didn't get the first time round when they were learning about it in primary 6. So there's plenty of time during the summer to really focus in on those topics and help your child become confident with them before going into primary 7. If your child can really grasp those topics that they find tricky, it means they can go into primary 7 feeling confident and ready to take on what's next. Tip number 2 is to make some revision cards. So this is a great idea to get your child learning and they won't even realize they're learning when they're making them. Grab some card, some felt tips, sparkly pens, anything that your child likes to make their revision cards as appealing to them as possible. And what you're going to do is go through the SEAG transfer test topics and just jot down a little bit of information on each topic. So for example, if we're going to create revision cards on the different types of triangles, your child can draw or print off a picture of each triangle and write down the facts about them. So let's take an equilateral triangle. Your child can put a picture of an equilateral triangle, then they can jot down beside it that all sides are the same length, all angles are the same size, and there are 180 degrees in a triangle. By making these revision cards, your child will be able to look back on them if they're going through a practice paper, for example, and they just forgot a certain topic. It means they can go through the revision cards just to get a little reminder of how to complete a certain type of question, or if there's a fact that they need to remember. So they will be really useful during their transfer test revision. Tip number 3 is transfer test practice papers. And by this point, your child is probably so fed up of sitting practice papers and do not want to do any over summer, but there are lots of benefits to keeping up with the practice papers over the summer break. So your child's school might have sent home a massive stack of papers that they need to complete, but remember these do not go back into school, so if they don't get them all done, it's not a big deal. You'll have them to use from another time that you might need them. If your child's school didn't send home practice papers, there are lots of places online that you can buy some SEAG style practice papers. The important thing to remember when completing practice papers over the summer break is to keep the test experience for your child. So this means set them in a nice quiet room, there's no distractions. You can set them a timer, they're going to sit at a table just like they would at school, and you can come in and give them time reminders, so you can say there's 30 minutes left, there's 15 minutes left if this really helps them. And if your child is struggling with the timings of the practice papers, summer is a really great time for them to learn some testing skills, to get their speed up and to improve their test technique. Now, you don't need to go mad and do a practice paper every day, but 1 or 2 practice papers a week will be perfect for keeping their brain in test mode. Tip number 4 is to book your child in for a SEAG transfer test mock day. Now, there are so many benefits to your child sitting a mock test. The first one is they're going to be going into a testing centre before the real test is, so it means they're going to get the experience of being in a different setting, being with different students from different schools, and going into a test environment. Booking your child in for a mock test day is the next step up from practice papers, and it means you're going to keep the momentum going with their learning, as well as taking them out of their comfort zone. If your child feels anxious about going into a different centre to sit a test, they're going to have to do that for the real thing. So by doing it this summer, you are going to help take away some of those nerves before the real test in November. As well as running SEAG mock tests in September and October, I am running some special summer SEAG sessions, and these are in July and August. Spaces are limited, so you do need to get your child booked on as soon as you can, especially for the summer slots as they are filling up fast. As well as being a great experience for your child, it will be great for them to go and do a practice test in a different setting, away from home, away from school, and it'll just give them something different for their day as well. And it also means that you will get a little hour and a half to yourself to go and have a coffee, go shopping, or just to chill out. Tip number 5 is to complete some SEAG-style English activities. Now, I know there are a lot of maths topics that your child needs to study for the transfer test. However, the English activities for the SEAG transfer test are very specific. So first of all, we've got the punctuation section and the spelling section, and this is where your child will have to spot errors in a passage or some sentences. Up until this point, your child has been really focused on not making spelling or punctuation mistakes, but now they're going to have to go and try and spot errors that have been deliberately made. With the grammar section, your child has to make sentences grammatically correct. And then we have the comprehension section of the test, which your child will be very familiar with. I'm sure they've completed a lot of comprehensions in school, but the main thing here is to focus on the spelling, punctuation, and grammar activities. The best way for your child to get better at these type of transfer test questions is to practice, practice, and practice some more. So this summer is the perfect time to practice these activities, spot spelling mistakes, spot punctuation mistakes, and make sentences grammatically correct. Tip number 6 is to keep reading and writing. Now, I know there are some students out there who will be delighted about this tip, and others will be absolutely raging because they hate reading or they hate writing, but it is really important to keep these 2 skills up to date during summer. So with the reading, you can just keep your child reading in the morning or at night time. Reading is a really great thing to do before bed because it will relax your child's mind, help them feel a bit sleepy. So if you can keep up with the bedtime reading, that would be perfect during summer. And an activity that I recommend to keep up your child's writing skills is to keep a summer journal. So this is actually quite a lovely activity because it means they can write down all their favourite summer memories, day trips that they went on, summer schemes that they went to, or holidays, and then they'll have that to look back on in years to come with all their memories from summer. It'll also allow your child to explore their own writing style and get creative with their writing. Tip number 7 is to have fun, relax, and unwind. So you might be thinking, that's not a transfer test revision tip, but it really is. If you think up until this point, your primary 6 children have been going a million miles an hour with practice papers, revision booklets, they've probably been preparing for end of year assemblies, end of year shows, sports day, and they really do need time to relax and unwind. So as well as planning your child's summer transfer test revision, it is important to plan some fun days. It doesn't have to be anything special. It can just be a walk in the park, bake some buns, go on a picnic. After your child does their transfer test revision, it will be lovely to have a relaxing, fun activity for afterwards. This will actually help your child's SEAG transfer test revision because they will be sitting at that kitchen table feeling refreshed and ready to learn. Even if your child isn't planning on sitting the transfer test, it is good to go over some different things during summer break. This includes going over times tables. So if there's a set of times tables that your child struggles with, you can practice those over summer. If there's a certain maths topic that they struggle with, you can practice that as well. So summer is a really great time to enhance your child's learning and help them go into the new school year feeling confident and ready for it.